What's up, guys? This is a 1968 custom Fender Deluxe Reverb amp reissue. This is the one with the in the custom channel has the basement tone stack, and the vintage channel is supposed to have, you know, just a straight up 65 standard sounds, I guess, right? Reverb on both channels and vibrato on both channels. Right now we're plugged straight into the amp in Vintage 1. Vintage 1 straight into the amp. This is what she sounds like with only the guitar lead. A little bit of vibrato, a little bit of reverb. So that's Vintage 1, channel 1 in Vintage mode. And I had the vibrato, just a light dash of vibrato and a pretty sick heavy reverb. And it does make a little noise when you put the reverb on. Listen. So that's the reverb circuit coming on. I might have some grounding issues back there. I don't know. I'll see if I have to maybe screw something, or I'll just take a look. I haven't really set up the amp. The only thing I've done to this amp is change the speaker. It came with a Celestion G12, I believe, or G15, and I swapped that speaker for the Eminence Patriot Cannibis Rex. Big fan of the Eminence Patriot Cannibis Rex because that speaker rounds out some of the high highs, and it retains mids and it retains lows. It's very nice for that, right? If you want a guitar sound that's going to, an amp sound that's not going to split your ears but still kind of cut and still be there, the Eminence Patriot Cannibis Rex is the way to go. The hemp cone, the way they dope it, it's all good, right? The Celestion's a great speaker that came with it, but for me it was kind of spiky, kind of tinny, kind of high. So with that being said, we'll switch to the custom channel and we'll see what's in store. Custom number 1 at about 1.5 audio. Incidentally, we're playing out of a Gibson LPJ 2013 gold top with burst bucker upgraded pickups. In the neck position, let's go to bridge. So that's the bassman tone stack on Custom 1. You know, I'm gonna get a AB pedal, and when I do, I'll spend more time going back and forth between the two channels. But for the most part, I pretty much hang out in custom. I like that bassman tone stack, and the vintage is great too. Don't get me wrong. It's just like on the Vox, you can't channel switch effectively without pulling out, putting into the other one, unless you run an AB box. And so I don't have one of those, and I don't want to keep switching back and forth. So we're gonna go with that. And without any further ado, we're going to, like I said, that original tone right there was just pedals. I mean, just the amp, no pedals, right? And so you can barely see my pedal board here. And I have just the basics. You know, you have your EP booster, your Echoplex booster from Exotic. I got a tuner. I've got a delay pedal that I use mainly, and then I have another delay pedal which is basically slaved as just a looper. And I have 2 reverb pedals and 2 gain stage pedals. A Sweet Baby Overdrive from Joyo and Electro-Harmonic Soul Food. We're using Electro-Harmonic Soul Food as a clean boost, and we're using the Sweet Baby as our grit. Hall of Fame probably won't be used, and Cathedral might get used. I'm going to show you what the amp sounds like. Well, here's what it sounds like, just the amp, right? Gotta turn it up. Oh yeah, I gotta plug it in too, right? Oh shit. So this is just the amp, right? Yeah, because everything's bypassed. Reverb of the amp itself, just the reverb of the amp. Incidentally, a lot of people weren't sure where this amp was made. On the back of the amp, when I did the speaker replacement to the Eminence Patriot Cannibis Rex and I took out the Celestion, I discovered that it is made in Mexico. So there is a made in Mexico plate on the back of it. It has that plastic circuit board or whatever it's called, you know, printed circuit board, and it has a lot of tubes in there. I mean, I think I counted 7 or 8 tubes. I mean, there's a lot, and you know, where it's made doesn't matter to me because the particle board or whatever, you know, the wood it's made, it's great. The speaker, I upgraded that myself, and the circuitry, in my opinion, is fair. The only thing I don't like about it is how it still has. Listen, that's just me bringing in the reverb. It makes that sound, right? And as the box says, or the information on its amp says, it is very touch sensitive, right? That's one of the things that I kind of couldn't get over when I first got this. I've only had it for like 5 days. We went to Dallas, and I went to Sam Ash in Dallas over there off the 75, and they had this amp in there. It was the only guitar store I could find with this amp, and they let me play it, and I played it for like 20 minutes, and I was like, yeah, when I get home, I'm going to buy it. And I bought it, right? Bought it online. Sorry for doing that, but that's just how it goes. With that being said, you know, my Fender Blues Deluxe, which was in this place before this amp was touch sensitive, but this is like highly touch sensitive, so it's like you kind of got to get used to it. And if you don't run a compression pedal, like I don't run compressor pedals, you kind of have to like adjust your playing. So this has been just a naked amp with, you know, its own reverb. I really haven't had a chance to like crank this amp and see what the organic breakup is, because for a 22 watt amp it's still pretty loud for any apartment. As you can see, I have speakerphone surrounding this corner of the apartment right here, and that's there to, because my neighbor is right here on the other side of this wall. That's his bedroom actually, so I kind of feel bad. It's like what, noon in the morning, and I'm like just playing fucking Fender on his ass, right? Whatever. Alright, so you've heard what this amp sounds like naked. You've heard it with vibrato, with the reverb. So I've wanted you just to hear the amp for a few minutes, and it's been 9. So what I do is I come in from the pedal board to the tuner and then to the EP booster. You have to have the EP booster, okay? So you can see the EP booster already adds a lot. It adds a lot in the lows, in the mid lows, in the mid mids, and the mid highs. It adds a lot. On an amp like this, where it's all glass, right? There's nothing. It's got a glass rectifier, tube, stage, all that. I mean, it's completely glass. Having a EQ pedal or a Echoplex or the EP Boost, in my opinion, is very beneficial because it's going to round out your tone. It's going to fill the gaps of your signal where there's nothing there. Incidentally, the pedal's only at like 11 o'clock, so it's not even dimed, right? We're not all the way up. This is without the pedal. You see how quiet the pedal is? I mean, the amp is. All I'm doing is pushing one pedal, and that's the EP booster. So definitely get one of those, right? It's going to make your sound come to life. And like I said, I run it at like 11 o'clock, around the 12 o'clock position. I really don't kind of go too high with it because I don't want to clip and I don't want to, because it will. But do you see that? You hear that presence? It's really there with that pedal. And then, so basically I've been running this pedal into the amp, and then I've been also using my Alter Ego. I'm a big fan of the Alter Ego. It's probably the best delay pedal on the market in my opinion. So let's just have fun with it. Yeah, that's the Alter Ego with the reverb on board with the amp. You can hear the circuit, right? Bringing it out, bringing it in. And it's just the Alter Ego on a custom pedal and the EP Boost. Using the amp's reverb, which is a little loud. So let's switch to a different reverb. We're going to use Cathedral. I believe we're on Grail. Yeah, Grail Spring on Cathedral. Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh? So this is, like I said, 68 Deluxe Reverb Fender reissue with the custom channel in port number 1, about like 1.8 volume, trebles at 7, and the bass is about 9.5. Running through the EP Booster, the Alter Ego, and the Cathedral. And, you know, I like the reverb on board. Listen to this. Let's just do a reverb contest, right? And these are indiscriminate settings on my Cathedral, so, you know, just have a listen and tell me what you think. First is Cathedral. Yeah, it's definitely digital, right? You can hear it sounds, you know, compressed, modulated. It sounds electronic. It sounds digital. I use a lot of the plate as well. I like the plate. In my personal setting on plate. that's with Cathedral. Basically, that's kind of where I sit on Cathedral between plate and Grail, and I have my own custom presets that I kind of just, you know, activate and stay with, and that's one of those kind of set it and forget it pedals for me at least, right? For you, it may be different, but you know, here's the stock amp reverb, right? So just like right off the bat, one of the things that sold me when I was standing in the Sam Ash store and I picked up, you know, an Epiphone with, you know, Korean pickups in it, right? The amp was at ear level, so it was raised up on a stand, and I was, you know, just able to walk right up and just turn it on and start fucking with it, right? There's a custom channel what sold me on the amp, and the reverb of the amp what sold me on the amp. When I walked out of that store, I knew I was going to get home and go straight to Z-Zounds, ZZOUNDS, and buy the amp for $83 a month for 12 months, right? I knew, like, I mean, I think I even went back to the hotel and I bought it that night, and so by the time I got back to my hometown, it was like the next day it was there, right? I was that sold on the amp. And I played some of the JVM stuff. I played some of the, you know, the Black Star stuff while I was up there. I have 3 Fender amps. I have 3 Marshall amps, you know. I have amps. I have digital amps. I have softwares. I have iPad stuff. I have computer stuff. I have, you know, portable amps, like little ones, like real small ones that fit in your pocket that you use headphones for, like an iPhone app is now. I have those as well. I have it all, right? And I have a Deluxe, a Fender Blues Deluxe, which I've only had for about a year and a half now. But this amp right here was like it. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because here in a minute, when we crank over the last 10 minutes of this video, because I spent the first 10 minutes explaining to you and showing you organic sounds that you get out of it. The second 10 minutes playing clean tones still, but just with boost and reverb and delay. And now on the final 10 minutes of this video, we're going to go into gain. And so we're going to be using a Soul Food, and we're going to be using the Joyo Sweet Baby. And when you crank either one of those pedals onto this amp in the custom mode, you get a really rich grit, dirt, metal crunch. And that's what I was like, okay. Because, you know, you buy an amp and you got 90 days to return it, right, or 30 days to return it. And when I started going through the pedals with the original speaker, I was like, you know, the speaker's okay. It's kind of tinny, kind of shrilly, but you know that going into a Fender, right, for the headroom aspect. And then when you switch the speaker out to get that, you know, like the Eminence Cannibis speaker that has kind of doled out highs, doled out, instead of being so spiky, and then you start crunching pedals into it, then you can actually use your tone knob on your pedal. Because with the original speakers that come with Fender amps, you kind of have to play the tone knob at like 10 or 9 o'clock because it's too bright. But when you put a lower output speaker, I don't want to say output like as in voltage, but like output as in highs, then you can actually start to use the pedal to crank that pedal from like, you know, 9 or 8 o'clock to like 1 to 3 o'clock. And it's not going to split your head. So that was like my motivation for always using the Cannabis speakers, right? So if you take anything away from this video, EP booster has to be on your board, and then get a Cannabis speaker in any amp you have that's too high, you know, like too bright, and you'll see immediately once you break that speaker in that it's doable. Okay, so the only thing that's on right now is the EP booster, and we're gonna go. Let's go with the Soul Food. Soul Food is on. So that's just the soul food. I had the distortion dimed. I had the treble at about like 11, 10 o'clock, and then the volume about like 12 to 1 o'clock. And so that's a really good sound. You know, I don't know exactly how this is going to come over on your speakers, and I hope it does justice, because like that tone blew away my Blues Deluxe, and it blew away all my digital amps. It blew away my Class 5 Marshall amp. It blew away everything except for my Marshall Valve State, which is an AB amp. It has a 12AX7 and it has a solid state rectifier and power amp section, right? So that amp has probably the best, you know, Dimebag Darrell, heavy metal, Slayer, Pantera, over the top gain that you're going to get. But if you don't want to have something that big in your living room, as this is in my living room, you can get away with this amp. Get all your clean tones, get all your warm tones, get all your blues tones, get all your rock tones, your AC/DC, your Kiss tones, your Metallica tones, and then with a halfway decent pedal. And you gotta understand, this is a soul food pedal. This isn't like Electro Harmonix over super hardcore distortion pedal. This isn't like a Boss or a Digitech super hardcore metal zone pedal, right? This is just the fucking soul food on the Bassman line 1 setting of this amp. So let's switch to Sweet Baby. Sweet Baby's got a lot for us too. Sweet Baby's a little bit duller. It's not as in your face as the Soul Food is. And the Soul Food has a little bit of higher clarity, a little bit more transparent, whereas Sweet Baby definitely has you know, something kind of muddling the signal. But once your ears attuned to it, it's not that bad. That's pretty loud, right? Like, you know, I'm sitting here in a corner in my living room with a 22 watt 112 amp. It's a Fender, and I'm able to get great crunch and great lead, and hopefully I don't get the cops called on me. And we're at 1.5 volume on the amp, that is. So, you know, maybe later on after I do some things around the house, I'll come back and we'll make some more sounds. But I think for now, we've proved our point that this 68 Deluxe Reverb amp does a lot more than just a 65. It's modified, and it does things that, in my opinion, are killer. You're going to use it for a studio, it's there. It's flexible. It can do a lot. It can do all the 65 shit. It can do all the clean shit. It can do all the crunch. Throw it in the basement channel, crank it up, put some pedals in front of it, decent pedals with moderate amounts of gain, and it's not going to get loose on you. You know, it's not going to flub out. It's not going to flub out on you. It's not going to squeal. It hasn't squealed yet, like just normal squeal. Like I said, I've only had it for a week, and I just kind of had to make a video. I got it Wednesday. Yeah, I haven't even had it a week. I've had it 4 days. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I've had this 4 days, and immediately, like I said, I changed the speaker out just so I could get rid of some of that shrill, that high pitch gain. And I didn't change my pedal rig at all. Well, actually, no, I did. Because, so that was the problem with some of my other amps, right? Like, in order to get